So the final part of my dining room table that I made, and also the breakfast bar, is done. And I had my polisher come, Gavin, and he stained it for me. I wasn't confident enough to get a stain the right colour. And what I've just been doing now is just finishing it with the last coat of Osmo Top Oil, the high solid one. It's a really nice material. It's ideal for kitchen worktops and tables and that sort of stuff, but it's so nice to apply. So the last one was a good D-nib with some 240 all over the top, because you get a little bit of bumps and lumps coming through as you coat them, you know, the first couple up with a brush. And then I've gone over with a lint-free cloth, and it looks absolutely amazing. So this table really tells a story for me. This was one slab of wood that I found in a mill, my local mill. So this is where my table started its life. In fact, it didn't start its life here. It started it within about 10-mile radius of this mill. It was felled as part of an ongoing sort of deforestation and clearing operation. So all the timber then gets bought by local mills. In this case, this is my local mill. And I turned up here, had a look, and I saw that slab of timber, and I thought, oh God, that's amazing. So that's how it started. I'm just sitting on a nice bit of oak here. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing, the stuff that you can produce. One of the most versatile materials in the world. It always has been, and it always will be. It's got such a good eco credential, if you ask me. As far as I'm concerned, it can be used for absolutely anything. Anyway, so this is where it all began. This is the mill. Saw it, fell in love with it. I said to Becky, right, let's have a look at this. This could be our dining room table, and it sort of evolved from there. It's 1/4 of a ton. We had to get it from the mill, in the van, from the van, in the garage. We had to sand it. We had to do all kinds of stuff with it. We've had to also mill the legs in the underneath, because being such a heavy table, all they're doing is fixed up underneath. So there's no way I could just screw them on, because you put too much weight on this, it's just going to go over. And the breakfast bar, believe it or not, is from the same tree. So as this was cut, as the tree went round like that, there was different slabs. And we managed to get a couple of pieces, which we're able to mitre here. And that slots into the end of the island unit. So it's been amazing to get this far. It's been about 8 months since we made the table, because I just wanted it to climatise. It still had a fairly high moisture content, but now it's done. So we now have to slot the whole thing in. Now, the way I designed it, and I mentioned this in the video about how I actually made and mitered this sort of breakfast bar top, which goes up to the other end of the slab, which is hidden in the cabinet, which is where it gets its strength from. And I've worked it out that the weight of the piece hanging over the end where the router is actually cantilevered perfectly by the piece that's here. So when it slots into the unit, which I'll show you as we go along, it actually holds itself. All I have is a couple of restraining screws hidden away behind a drawer on the other side of the island unit. It's all being held effectively by its own weight and the structure of the cabinets. Designed it in such a way that we'd have the rear units here and the front units here, and there would be a section of space. Now, I didn't know how thick my top was going to be, and this was above these two cabinets, so I could let in some of that surface. Because of this piece, it's coming down here, is cantilevering, I wanted to make sure that this section equaled the weight or the mass of the bit that was inside. So there, all I have to do then is I take this drawer out here and pop in, I'll put that over out the way here. All I need is one screw through the side of this carcass here into the edge of the breakfast bar, and all that does is restrain it. So the cantilever is doing all the work. So now we're just going to slot it back in, screw it up, put the drawer back, put the chairs in, and it's another job finished. So mate, if we carefully carry it over, this recess is basically the top of that cabinet. So I recessed that down, I cut it all through, removed all that stock, flattened it off. Now it's really quite strong. If you take that cantilevered end and I'll take this end, so you can almost carry it facing me, and we'll walk it over. There you go, mate. You go backwards. Lucky you're tall, isn't it? You can keep your end above the work surface. Now we need to effectively, it drops underneath the worktop. So it hits the worktop hard. And then basically what we do, I've got the shims in. So if you keep yours up against the worktop. Right, now I'm gonna just ease it in. Now what you can do is let go of it. You see how it's not got the fixing, but it's not going anywhere?
Yeah.
So the mass of this bit here and the cantilever is holding that bit there. So therefore, there's no other fixing in this. Now, the fact that this timber, okay, will shrink, we'll want to shrink, and it was always want to go shrink in its width. So we want to eliminate that as much as possible. If we back fix this over here, the chances are, if it shrank, it's going to do some distorting. But if we leave it like this and not fix it, have the one screw in there, that bit won't shrink in its length.
Okay.
There's going to be no distortion. Yeah. So I'm really chuffed with that. So even you can just see exactly where we are there. Now just ease it this way. I'll get that screw in first over here. So that's it, it's got its only restraining screw in it, and now I can pop the drawer back. And then I've got a couple of green filler panels, which I've got to just shoot in and paint. I'm not sure whether I've actually done these already, but they basically go one underneath here, like that. And that just takes up the slot there. Also gives it a little bit of support. So one underneath there, and of course, one around the back, which I believe I've already done. So it's so nice when you've been on a journey and you've made something and you can finally sit back, look at it finished and enjoy it. So I'm really pleased that my table, my breakfast bar, have finished, and this has taken a fair amount of time just due to the nature of it. All I have to do now is decide, am I going to have a coffee or a beer, because I think it's time to pack up for the day. Thanks so much for joining me on my channel. I'm Robin Clever. If you're not a subscriber, maybe consider subscribing, because I love all things carpentry, joinery and building work. I'll see you all soon.